Looks like I had myself on mute. You'd think I'd been doing this long enough that I would know not to do that. But thank you guys so much for being here today. Uh, this is the Make It Count webinar from Oklahoma Money Matters. We do this on the third Tuesday of every single month on a different financial topic. This one today, I think, is really going to be an interesting one because it's graduation season and we've had a lot of students graduating or maybe getting ready to graduate next semester. And so I think this is a really important and timely topic. So if you've never been on one of these before, let me introduce myself. My name is Sarah Lorenzen, and I am an outreach specialist and a certified financial education instructor. And I work for Oklahoma Money Matters, which is the financial literacy initiative of the Oklahoma College Assistance Program and the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Ed. And I've been doing this for about 5 years now, and we've been doing the Make It Count webinar for about 4. So we always enjoy this. And we have a lot of different people that come to this because we sometimes have students, we sometimes have people who work at the schools. And so we always like to know who's here with us. So I just launched a poll. If you would take just a moment to fill that out, let me know who you are. If you are currently in college, let me know. If you just graduated, that's on there too. Let me know. If you work at a school, let us know too. Looks like we got most folks have responded. We'll give you guys just another second. All right, so it looks like we've got several folks that work at colleges and several folks attending colleges. So I'm going to go ahead and end that right now. I'm so glad that you guys are here with us today. So we've got a lot to cover in the next hour. So I want to make sure we get started and are mindful of everybody's time. So let's go ahead and get into it. If you've been on one of these before, some of these things I'm going to say are going to sound normal, a thing that you've seen before. But if you haven't, let me go through just a couple of norms that we like to say before we get started to make sure that everybody gets the most out of these. So the first is please stay muted. It is not that we don't want you to be interactive, because we absolutely do. We really want you to use that chat function. But this is being recorded so people can see it later. And we want to make sure that there's as little background noise as possible. I know I'm working from home right now, and I'm going to do my best to keep my dog quiet. That doesn't work all the time, as you guys probably know, in this semi-virtual world that we have. But I do want you guys to be interactive with me. So please, in the chat, talk to me. If you have questions at any point or comments at any point, please make sure you're putting those in the chat. We really do want to hear from you. A couple other things. These that I'm going to give you, these are basic guidelines, right? I am hoping to give you the tools to make better informed financial decisions for yourself. But as it comes, I am not a financial advisor. So these are still, it's your decision to make, and it's your money. So I want to emphasize that before we get started. And at the same time, when we're talking about money, everyone was raised differently with money, and it can be a very emotional topic for some people. So we always want to make sure that this is a safe space where we can talk about money and talk about our experiences without the pressure of, there being bullying or anything like that. So we just want to make sure that we are being respectful of anything that someone does share in the chat during this. Now, our agenda, we've got lots to cover within these topics, but we're going to talk a little bit about when you graduate, things you're going to need to wrap up at the school before you leave, before they give you your actual diploma, some things to keep in mind. And then we're going to talk a little bit about starting your career, looking for a job, evaluating job offers. We're going to talk a little bit about things to keep in mind with your finances going forward once you've graduated. So some things that as you're getting ready to graduate that you want to keep in mind. I'm going to talk also briefly about work-life balance and some things to keep in mind because, you don't want to just be all work, because it can cause stress and it can cause health issues, which then even in the long run can affect your money. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then I'm going to share a bunch of resources to help you do all of the things that we've talked about in this presentation. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Yay, we've graduated. It is such an exciting time. And when you guys get there, you students that are on the call, I definitely want you to take that all in because we get it. I've done it myself. Getting a college degree can be hard sometimes, and it is a challenge. It is a challenge that you have accomplished, and you definitely should be proud of yourselves and enjoy your accomplishment. But as you're getting ready, when you graduate, they generally do not give you your diploma on the day of graduation. They will give you this really nice, fancy diploma holder that is embossed with your school logo and your school name that you can keep your degree in when you get your degree, but they actually will mail it to you later. So there's some things to keep in mind as we go forward. Okay, so even if you've walked already, before you're fully done with the school, some things that you should consider. If you've had to take out student loans while you're in school, you're going to have to complete exit counseling. And it's really important when you can complete this exit counseling that you pay attention. Your exit counseling is going to tell you all of your rights and responsibilities as a borrower. It's going to help tell you about repayment plan options and what your options are, say, if you're having trouble paying for your loans. So it's very important that you don't just, click through to get it done, that you actually read it and pay attention to what it is telling you. It is a requirement if you've had a student loan, but it's also just a really good thing to pay attention to, because there's a lot of things that you need to know to make sure that you can successfully repay those loans and not default on them or cause yourself financial harm later by not paying them. The next thing is you also want to make sure you update your contact information with your school if you are going and moving after graduation. They will send your diploma to you afterwards. This is pretty universal at every school. So it is very important to make sure that your contact information is up to date, because the last thing you want is to have worked so hard for that degree and then it ends up going to your old apartment and you never actually get it. And then you have to go through the whole process of trying to see if the school can send you another copy. And it's just a headache. So make sure that before you leave the school, you update your contact information. This will make sure that if you have any remaining balances you have to pay, if you have to get copies of transcripts, or if you get your diploma, that it's all coming to the right location. As well as if there's any alumni benefits or alumni association that you want to be a part of from your school, that they know how to get in contact with you. You're going to make sure that you have paid off any remaining balances to your school. You want to make sure that they have no reason to withhold a transcript or anything else you may need to get from them. So it's important to make sure that if you have any balance left, you've been on a payment plan, maybe you still have a little bit to go to pay off last semester, that you make sure that happens. Who knows, parking tickets, things, all kinds of things happen. So make sure that those are paid off before you kind of move on from this. Also, make sure to get a few copies of your transcript once it has posted your degree. Why is this important? Because believe it or not, there are lots of jobs that are going to want you to prove that you actually have that degree that you say that you have. And your diploma is not always what they will accept. It may actually be a copy of your transcript that shows what classes you took, what your GPA was. So it's important to have those on hand just in case. And yes, I know you can order them online from most schools now, but it's good to have them on hand in case you have to attach it to an application or you just have to have it around for some reason. Make sure that if you have any websites that use your school email as a web login, make sure that you are changing that. Because generally within about 3 months of graduation, anyone who has graduated, they kind of purge out those emails, right? So they're going to deactivate them. So if you had, your name at whatever university.edu and you are using that email address for everything, you've got it, the login to your TikTok or the login for this or the login for that. Like, you want to make sure that you change the logins to all of those and update your email address to something that is different. If you don't have another email address, there are plenty of sites out there that allow you to set up an email for free. Gmail, I think Yahoo still allows you to, Outlook, have lots of free emails that you can set up, that you can make a professional sounding email that you can use to apply for jobs, but that is not associated with the school, so you don't lose access to it. And then while you're there and you are still fresh in their minds, the details of you as a student are there in their minds. Make sure to ask for recommendation letters from any professors or mentors you had on campus. I know two of my favorite professors from school, they still remember me. We are still friends on Facebook. We still talk on occasion. But I guarantee if I asked them to write a recommendation letter for me now, they probably couldn't write as many good details about what a good student I was or what a hard worker I was or whatever, because it's been 12 years since I graduated. So, even though they know me as a person, they may not be able to speak to my ability to do a specific job or to actually recommend me for something at this point. So make sure that you get those from them, ask them for them if you're going to get them. Because that may come in handy down the line if you need them for a job or if you try to go into some sort of professional education, grad school beyond the school that you're in now. So make sure that you consider those things as you're wrapping up from school. All right. And then the next thing is we're trying to start our career, right? So if you do not graduate with a job offer, which a lot of students don't, that is a-okay, but you want to make sure that we get all of our ducks in a row and do the best we can to try to find a position. So let's talk about some ways to do that. So first, I'm going to highly recommend consider going to your career development center on campus. Most campuses have some sort of career development, career assistance office for their students. And it is not just when you are an active student. You can go as alumni. I know I am an alumni of University of Central Oklahoma up in Edmond, and their career development center as an alumni is available to me from now until I retire, to help with reviewing resumes or job searches or things like that because I graduated from there. So make sure that you're taking those into account and you are utilizing those resources. They have people there who are experienced, who can help you build a resume, who can help you review your cover letters or review, if you've put your own resume together, review it and give you feedback on what could make it better. They can help you with mock interviews. So if you've never interviewed for a job before, or you're maybe a little nervous about your interview skills, they can help you and give you constructive feedback on how to make it better and how to present yourself better to future employers. Some places that you can continue to look. They also can help with your job and internet search. You can also look on places like LinkedIn or Indeed or ZipRecruiter. Some other things that a lot of people don't necessarily think of are networking groups. There are a lot of them. I know I am here in Oklahoma City, and in Oklahoma City, there are lots of them. There are lots for young professionals. There are lots for different industries. So it is very important that if you have a specific industry that you get involved with that professional association, because while getting a job it is important that you know what you know, and your degree is important, getting those opportunities, not all opportunities are listed on these websites. And sometimes it comes down to who you know that can give you a job recommendation or who can get your name in front of the hiring manager by sending your resume over because they work at the same company. So get out there and network, get to meet people, introduce yourself, let them know that you are a new graduate, get involved in those professional associations, because what that also does is it lets them know that you are committed to that profession that you are trying to break into because you have reached out to a professional association. And there are tons. If you are going to get your CPA, there's the Oklahoma Society of CPAs. If you are in public relations and communications, there's the Public Relations Society of America. Both of those have local chapters that you can get involved with and go to the meetings monthly and meet people in person that are in your area. Also consider looking at career pages on those organizations' websites. I mentioned PRSA, or the Public Relations Society of America. Our Oklahoma City chapter, PRSA OKC, they actually have a huge job board for communications, marketing, journalism, all those kind of different communications and public relations type jobs on their website. And it is available. It is free. You do not have to be a member to have access to it. And so make sure that you're looking at those type of associations also, because they want those people that are involved in those professional associations, that are continuing to learn and getting that extra training, and they will go to those trusted organizations to post jobs. So make sure that you are looking for all of those. So now, another thing that you need to do, and you can do this as you are applying for jobs or even before, you need to understand what your value is and what matters to you, because when a job offer comes, you want to be able to evaluate it and really consider, is this a good fit for me? Because not only if it's not a good fit and you take the job anyway, not only are you probably going to be miserable, they may end up either having to fire you, or you may quit because it's really bad. And then it's going to even cost the company money, because the company is then going to have to rehire someone for that position. So they would much rather you say no to an offer if it's not a good fit. So how you have to do that, though, to make sure that it is a good fit or not, is you have to do some research. First, figure out what the starting salaries are for the position that you are applying for. You can do your research, places like PayScale, Glassdoor, Salary.com. You can put in the types of positions that you are looking for and where you live, and it will give you kind of a range of what starting salaries for these particular positions start as. But you need to be realistic, okay? When you have just graduated from school, you're probably not going to land a job making $100,000 a year right out of college. That doesn't mean that that is not attainable at some point, but that's probably not realistic for your first job out of college. And you need to learn what the starting salaries are, what the expected range is. I'll give you a personal example. So my undergraduate degree is in public relations and communications. And when I first came out of school, I was kind of shocked to find out what the starting salaries were for a communications position here in Oklahoma, because my cousin, who is a couple years older than me, also has a very similar degree to mine. And she worked in public relations, and actually still does, in Maryland, right? I'm in Baltimore on the East Coast. And her starting salary was significantly higher than mine. Well, why? Because the cost of living on the coast is higher than here. And so for me, I was very surprised when I was expecting to get $40,000, $50,000 a year jobs. Whereas at the time when I was looking for that degree, the starting salary for a communications degree was about $28,000 to $30,000 a year. And so it was a significant drop from what I was expecting. So it's important to make sure that you are looking into this and you know what you can reasonably accept. And you can start kind of thinking in your head what things are going to be important to you, right? Consider when you're looking at these job offers, consider your future salary. Maybe this is a lower paying position for right now, but you're going to get a lot of experience within a couple of years will let you get that earning potential. For example, maybe you went to med school and you're in residency. You're not making a whole lot of money during residency, but your potential is going to be more. Or maybe the job that you took, maybe it's worth staying for more than a couple of years because they give cost of living increases. That's something to consider, because if you were offered $45,000 a year, but you never get a cost of living increase and inflation keeps going up, you may not be able to stay at that job very long. So you want to make sure that you take that into consideration. But then also take some time to evaluate your personal values, and the things that are important to you. Do you have a family, right? Or are you wanting to start one soon? Then a job that requires you to be on call all the time when you're not in the office may not be the best position for you because you may not have a very good work-life balance. If you want a job where you can clock in and clock out and then not have to think about work when you're not physically on the clock, then there may be certain positions that are not the position for you. Whereas if you don't mind that, you're single, you're doing your thing, you're trying to build your career, that may be a perfectly fine opportunity for you. All right, so let's consider, make sure you are also evaluating the benefits that it offers. When you get a job offer, they're not only going to tell you the salary, but they're going to tell you the benefits included. And many places actually have their benefits listed on their HR site, on their website now, where you can actually go ahead of time and look at some of the things that they offer. Because sometimes they can't offer the highest salary, but the benefits are great. Right? You may get a lot of paid leave. You may get great insurance options, which can be really important if you get sick. Here in our, current economy and our current healthcare system, it is important to make sure that you have good insurance in case something happens to you. It may offer stock options. It may offer tuition reimbursement. Are you considering going to grad school after you have gotten your bachelor's degree and maybe you've worked a couple of years? Then tuition reimbursement might be a really great benefit that maybe you could work at a place that maybe doesn't pay as well for a few years because they're going to help you to get your degree paid for without having to take out a tremendous amount of more student loans to get a master's degree or higher. See if there's any other incentives that they offer. Do they offer pension or some sort of employer paid retirement plan? Do they offer a retirement match where you can put money into retirement and they will match whatever it is you put in up to a certain percentage? Do they do things like profit sharing? Do they have things like use of a company car or a company cell phone or company computer? That's important to take into account and things that a lot of people don't think of because those are things that you're probably going to be paying for out of your pocket. And if the company is providing that to you, you may be able to get by with a little bit less salary because they are taking care of those expenses that you're not going to have to pay for. And a lot of them can come with other perks, like they can pay for your gym memberships. They may offer daycare on site. Some of them, there's some here in the Oklahoma City Metro that actually have a gym on campus where they, on their site where you can go for free as an employee. They may reimburse travel costs. They may allow certain types of sabbatical leave, paid maternity leave or things of that nature. So it's really important to evaluate the whole picture and not just the salary when you're looking at these job offers that you're going to be getting. Some other things that you need to consider. You need to think about, is the company healthy? You can go and you can look this up. You can look at Google. You can look at the Better Business Bureau. You can just look at the company and you can see if they've laid people off in the last few years. Do they have any kind of weird legal things going on? Then those are probably things that you want to consider before you get a job with them. Because unfortunately, sometimes layoffs happen. It is just the nature of the world that we live in. But you can help prevent them for yourself by making sure that you research a company before you stop them. That's not a foolproof method, but it definitely can help. To make sure that you're getting into a company that is healthy and isn't going to, go out of business tomorrow. Also, you will probably have interviewed with your boss. Make sure that you and your boss seem to get along. You're going to spend a lot of time talking to them and being around them. And if you two have clashing personalities or clashing, styles of work, or their management style clashes with the way you like to be managed, it's going to make your job day to day kind of miserable. And it's not going to be worth it for you. Also consider what the company culture is like. You know, do they expect you to be showing up at lunches or after work events? Or do they have, is everything remote, or are they expecting you to be in the office 100% of the time? Those are all things to consider as well. And do they offer professional development beyond tuition reimbursement? Do they offer opportunities for you to go to conferences to learn more about the field that you have chosen to go into? Do they offer things like reimbursement for certifications? Things where you could get, if you're, say, an accountant and you want to get the CPA, go and sit for the CPA exam. Do they help you with the costs of that? Will they support you in giving you extra time off so you can study and prepare for that? Those are things to ask and to consider before accepting a job offer. But also consider just your life in general. Are you going to have to move? Do you live in Oklahoma City and you're going to have to move to Tulsa, or vice versa? Are you going to have to move out of state for a position? Because at that point, you're going to have to consider moving costs. You're going to have to consider cost of living differences. Because while Oklahoma City has grown quite a bit in how much it costs to live here in the last 10 years, we are still significantly cheaper than several places in the country. But then there are some who are comparable to where we live here. You're also going to want to consider your commute. Is your job an hour away from where you live? Well, that means that you're going to be driving or having to take the train or the bus. That's going to be extra expense on you with gas and car maintenance, and sometimes even just your mental health, because you're going to have to be sitting in traffic during rush hour dealing with people. And so those are really important things that you need to consider. All right. And make sure that you're evaluating also what your take-home pay is going to be, because when they give you a number, right, they say, oh, well, your starting salary is going to be $45,000 a year. That is your gross pay. And that is what we call your wages before taxes and deductions, right? That is your total pay. That doesn't take into account what you will actually take home, which is called your net pay or your take-home pay. That is, as you can kind of see in this graphic, your gross pay is this entire pie. Your net pay is just this blue portion. There is a part that is taken out for taxes and deductions. All right, and as you can see here, these are some of the deductions that you will see when it comes to your paycheck, right? You're going to see mandatory deductions, things like Social Security taxes, Medicare, federal income taxes, state income taxes if you are still living in a state that has income tax, any local or municipal taxes from the city you're living in. If at some point you have any garnishes because you have maybe not paid your student loans, or you have child support that needed to be paid, that can also be taken out of your paycheck. And then there's voluntary deductions. You can opt in to them taking some money out to go towards your retirement, or to pay into their insurance plan so you can use their insurance, life insurance, health savings accounts or HSAs, or flexible spending accounts, which are both utilized with higher deductible healthcare plans to help you put pre-tax money towards some of those medical expenses that can help you save a little bit of money when it comes to paying for those medical expenses you know you're going to have to pay for. So it's important to take that into account, because while you think you might be making one amount, you may actually be bringing home less, right? And this is just an example of what an employee earning statement looks like. This is what you will end up getting when you get your first paycheck. If you've never gotten one of these before, it'll have the company's name, your tax status. It's going to have all of your information, but then it's actually going to have what your pay is, year to date, what you've made, any deductions that have come out, so you can keep track of that. All right, so if we are planning on negotiating, right? Say that you have gotten a job offer, you have looked at everything, you're like, this is an okay offer, but I would like to make a little bit more money, or, I really want this position, but I feel like I am worth making, like my experience means that I could probably make a little bit more. You can definitely try to. And I recommend that if you think that you have the skills that best match that position, that you try to nicely negotiate for a thing. But here's some tips. So do make sure you're likable. Don't just demand for the sake of demanding. Because that old saying, you get a lot more flies with honey than vinegar, is very true. If you are a likable person, you are more likely to be able to talk to them about negotiating different parts of your salary offer. Think about what you want out of the job and be selective about what you push back on. Maybe you want the salary to be a little bit higher. Maybe you'd like to see if it's possible to have more PTO. Maybe you'd like to negotiate for everything that they've offered. It's fine, but you would really benefit from having a hybrid work schedule where you're only in the office a few days versus being in the office all the time. And help them to understand why you deserve whatever it is you've asked for. So if I was to interview for a job at a different place doing what I'm doing, I would go in and say, well, I would like to negotiate a higher salary because I have, a certification in this field. I have 5 years of experience. I have this and that. And then I would even go back into the job description and give them specific examples of the things that they've asked for that I have done, and showed them how I am the right person for this and how I will add value to their organization. So I am worth getting a little bit more than what they've initially offered. But do understand that businesses have budgets, they have constraints. And depending on the field you're going into, especially if you're going into nonprofit or higher education or government, that may have what they call salary bands, which is for that particular position, there is a minimum and a maximum that they can offer for that position, and figure out where you are in that maximum. So if the range of that position is it starts at $35,000 and it maxes out at 40 and you're asking for 60, that's not realistic, right? There's no way that they're going to be able to offer you that. But if the range is 35 to 40 and they offered you 38, you might be able to negotiate them to 39 or to 40 if you can show them that you have enough experience that you're worth that additional couple $1,000s. And consider the entire deal. Maybe you can deal with not having as much of a salary if you have really good benefits. Maybe they pay for 100% of your medical expenses. You don't have any deductibles or anything that you have to pay. They have really good insurance. That's going to help you. Maybe they fully contribute to a retirement account on your behalf. So as long as you are there for a certain period of time, they will give you that money towards your retirement. And you don't have to actually take that out of your paycheck. They put that money in for you. So make sure that you're considering those things. Also, don't negotiate just for the sake of negotiating, right? Really consider the offer and make sure that you are looking at it and saying, okay, this actually is a livable offer. I can do this for a little while and then come back later and maybe ask for more. Don't be overly critical or suspicious. There may not be like a seedy reason why they offered a specific thing. So don't immediately assume the worst if they've offered something or they come back and say they can't do a certain thing. There's probably a reason. And, not every employer is trying to do something shady. So don't immediately assume that. Also, don't ignore red flags though, because not everybody is out for your best interest, and your gut will tell you if it is not a good situation. If you sat in a billion interviews and you just really like got a weird vibe off of someone that worked with you, or they're being kind of cagey about the offer and won't like put the offer on paper for you to look at, then maybe that's not the best fit. Like there might be something weird going on. So trust your instincts. Don't ignore red flags just because you need the paycheck or you think that this is the job, because I promise the job will come around when it is supposed to. But also don't be afraid to say no if the job does not work for you. I mentioned this earlier. You are not only is it going to cost you because you're going to have to spend time looking for another job, interviewing for another job, and then quitting and finding something else. Or if you have to quit or you get fired and end up having to live off of your savings, then you're going to be in a whole financial mess. So make sure that if you need to, if you feel like this is not a good financial decision, the numbers just don't match up, don't be afraid to say no. Because even the employer, it costs them a tremendous amount to hire a new person, to train them, to onboard them, to get all of their stuff set up, their benefits and things. So they would rather do that once than have to do it multiple times. So they would much rather you say before you take the job, look, I'm sorry, I just don't feel like this is going to be a good fit. Like, best of luck with your search, versus taking the job and then 2 weeks into it, you hating it so bad that you quit and then they have to hire someone else. So don't be afraid to say no. Now, once you're working and you have started your new job, then we need to start really paying attention to our finances, right? You need to set up a budget, or as I like to call it, a spending plan, because you're going to be working real hard for your money. You want to be able to spend it, but you also need to make sure that your responsibilities are taken care of and you have what you need. So make sure that you're tracking your income and that you figure out what your financial responsibilities are going to be. All of those things you have to pay for: insurance and rent and groceries and getting the tag on your car renewed once a year and all of those things. Make sure you're tracking your spending. You will be amazed how much money you spend that you don't realize you're spending if you don't track it. And make sure you categorize that spending and see what you're actually looking at. That is really helpful, because once you physically see it and you can see, I'm spending, $300 a month on restaurants that I really don't have, or I am spending way too much on subscriptions, then you can see where you can cut things out and shift that money to other priorities. Maybe, well, I'm really wanting to go on a vacation this year, I'm going to cut out all these subscriptions I don't need and take that money and put it into a savings account, so I have that in order to go where I'd like to go. And I get a lot of questions from students generally who have first started a budget, which is like, well, okay, I can do all of those things you just mentioned, but how do I know if something is out of my budget, if I can afford it or not? Well, I personally think this is the best sort of starter method if you are trying to set up a budget. It is called the 50-30-20 spending plan. And generally what it means is that 50% of your income goes to must-have expenses: your housing, groceries, utilities, transportation, basic clothing that you need. And we're talking basic stuff, right? Like, we're not talking, I need a new dress for this date I'm going on, or like, I need this new pair of sneakers. We're talking just your basic stuff to cover your body, to go in and out to work or whatever. 30% should go to flexible expenses. So things that are fun: dining out, entertainment, gym membership. This also should go to, if you have any debts, should be coming out of this 30%. And then your goals, you should be putting 20% back for your goals. Maybe that is saving for travel. Maybe that is saving to go back to grad school. Maybe that is saving for an emergency. So that's a good rule of thumb. Now, in our current economy, that doesn't necessarily work all the time. And you can, get roommates, things like that to help make these expenses fit a little bit more. For some people, this might look like 60% and then, 20 and 10. But whatever works for you, this is a good guideline just to make sure that you are seeing you are kind of keeping in a category where you're not overextending yourself. All right, the next thing is I cannot emphasize enough saving your money. All right, saving your money, investing your money. I'll talk very briefly more about that here in a second. This is just an example, right? The younger you are, the better you will fare when you start saving and investing early. Okay, as you can see this, someone who invests at 20, even if it's $10 a month, by the time they reach retirement age of 65, they have 85,000 plus saved up. Whereas if someone waited to 50 with that same amount, they by 65 will only have a little over 11,000 saved up, right? You save $100 a month from 20 until 65 because of compounding interest. You are now looking at almost $900,000 that you have been able to save for yourself to go towards retirement there. Right. I'll give you a personal example with this. So when I was younger and in my early 20s, I was not good with my money at all, which I know is ironic because that is what I do for a living now. But my brother-in-law, he was, right? He had started investing $200 a month from the time he turned 18 until now, right? So he's a couple years older than me now. I just turned 40. He's 44. So now he has multiple millions of dollars saved in the bank. I do not, because he was able to start that money early. Compound interest is your friend when it comes to saving. So I cannot stress that enough to make sure that you are saving and saving early, even if it seems like you're like, oh, I have all the time in the world. Well, yes, you do. But the longer you wait, the less time is on your side when it comes to growing wealth for yourself. Okay, let's talk about student loans. We mentioned your exit counseling, okay? Once you are done with your exit counseling, here's what you need to do if you had to take out student loans while you were in school, okay? If you have private loans, you need to make sure that you set up on whatever portal your private lender is. You need to get with them to find out anything about payments. But if you took out federal loans, which most people do, you're going to want to go to studentaid.gov. Make sure that all your contact information is correct. You can, if you have the money, try to pay any accrued interest on any of your unsubsidized loans. Why is that important? Well, because the more you can pay before you get out of school, the more you're going to save later, because your unsubsidized interest will capitalize on top of your loan as you are going. So it's important to make sure that you get a head start on paying that if you can afford to. Evaluate repayment plans. There are a lot of different repayment plans on federal loans. So make sure that you are looking at the one that works best for you. Estimate what those monthly payments are before your grace period ends. With federal loans, you get 6 months after you withdraw, drop below halftime, or graduate. So in that 6 months, do this. Make sure you know what your payment is and start budgeting that now. If that payment is $200 a month, take that $200 a month for 6 months and put it in an emergency fund. Then you have a little bit of money to fall back on, so you can take your extra money and throw it towards paying your student loans off. And you'll have some money to cover you in case there's an emergency. Make sure, if you haven't already, I cannot stress enough, create a monthly budget. Even if I hear a lot of people say, oh, well, I make so much money that I should be okay without budgeting. Well, here's the thing. No one lives without a budget unless they are just infinitely wealthy. Even if you make a lot of money, it is really easy to overspend. Actually, the more money you make, the easier it is to overspend. So it's important to make sure that you get in the habit of setting limits on yourself and setting a budget and making sure that your budget matches your priorities, whether that priority is you want to be able to have money to invest, or you want to be able to travel, or you want to be able to pay for grad school without student loans, or you want to get your loans paid off faster. So you want to be able to make double payments. You have to have a budget to do that. And avoid lifestyle inflation while you're trying to get your loans paid off. Y'all, I know it's tempting. I have been there. You are making more money than you've made in your life because you just got your degree and you've got your first like big kid job and you're out and you are making a good living. I know it's important that you're like, I want a new car. I want this. I want that. Try to hold out as long as possible and use that extra money that you would be spending on those things and pay off your student loans. You will thank yourself in the long run for doing that, because it will save you money, and it will not become a burden to be paying for, 20, 25 years down the line because you were making the minimum payments versus trying to pay them off. Right. This is just a screenshot from studentaid.gov. I mentioned going to studentaid.gov to update your contact information. You can also go and utilize what is called their loan simulator. You can see it circled down here in the quick links. Once you have signed into studentaid.gov, you will see this. It'll show you your loans, it'll show you your grants, and then it will show you all of these tools that you have. You'll go to your loan simulator and it's going to give you some options. You're going to say, I want to find the best repayment strategy. So we're going to go in and we're going to find the best repayment strategy. It's going to ask you a bunch of questions and you need to answer it as honestly as possible, because depending on what answers you put in here determines what answer they give you. So to get the best answer, you have to make sure you're giving them the information that it needs. So what's your tax filing status? What state do you live in? Do you have any dependents? Do you have any children? If you have any of these things apply, you have a job or you're going to get one soon, you filed taxes in the last couple of years, you're married or you're getting ready to be married, you have children, you're saving for retirement currently, select all that apply to you, because all of these things can factor into what repayment plan is going to work best for you. Right? You're going to put in what your salary is. So if you are, say you got your job offer and you are expected that you're going to make $45,000 a year, you're going to put that in. And if you're expecting a cost of living increase, you can go ahead and put that in there, or you can leave it as 2% and it will just estimate what it could be. And then based on what you put in, it's going to select what it thinks is going to be the best option for you based on your loan balances, your salary, and the things that you've entered. Now, in this case, for this person, it said that the new SAVE plan, Saving for a Valuable Education, the income-driven repayment plan, is going to be the best option for this person. Now, this isn't the best option for everybody. So it's very important that you read through this, right? That you actually read what it says. You make sure that you understand what your payments are looking like, what the payoff scale is, how much you're actually going to be paying over time, whether or not, if you're making less than this minimum payment, like whether or not your interest is going to continue to grow. And you can kind of change these options here, right? If your goal is to pay it off as fast as possible, you would go ahead and toggle that to change to pay off as fast as possible. If you are going into the public service sector, education, or you're going to be working for a government entity of some sort, you're going to be working for a nonprofit, and you want to consider going for public service loan forgiveness, they have an option for that too, because it's going to steer you towards a repayment plan that works well with that program. And I highly recommend that you actually read through all of this so you understand what this plan means. They have this great tool that shows you how long your loan term is, what this is, and then it shows you the advantages and disadvantages of each. And if you're like, oh, well, how do I know that this is actually the best plan? Well, it gives you an option where you can not only see the plan it recommended, but you can also see all of the plans. And you can look and see what's the best payoff, what is the actual amount that I would be paying every month. You know, which one of these works best for me? And you can go and you can view the full plan and read those advantages and disadvantages of each one to make the best decision for yourself. Okay. Also important, I've mentioned this already, to make sure that you pay yourself first, that you are making savings a priority. Now, if you're doing that 50-30-20 savings plan, it's kind of already built into that, right? You've got a percentage that is going into savings. And some of that percentage should be going into an emergency fund, right? Or a retirement account, maybe savings for goals that you have. So it's very important to make sure that you're doing this, because here's the thing, y'all. A lot of people try to say that, like, oh, I wish I had money to save for emergencies. Well, you can't afford not to have money. This is how, if you don't have money to save for an emergencies, that is money that you end up having to take out in debt to cover emergencies. And that can snowball really, 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 really quickly. So even if it is $5 to $10 a month is all you can spare to put it into like some sort of high yield savings account, so it starts gaining interest, make sure you're doing that every single paycheck, because every cent that you have put back for yourself in an emergency fund is going to save you in the long run if an emergency happens. And not even if, when, because it does. Like tires blow out, you get sick, you end up in the hospital, you get in a car accident, all those things happen. All right. Also make sure that you're saving for other things, right? Make sure you can make this easy on yourself, make it a habit. You can take advantage of one-time opportunities to save, right? You get your tax return refund, you take that refund, you put it in savings. There's a bunch of different things you can do with that. Some workplaces have where you can save automatically. If you do direct deposit, you can have part of your paycheck deposited into your checking account and the other part deposited into your savings account. So you never even see the money and you know that it is there. It's also really important to make sure you are protecting your finances. We don't talk about insurance enough, and I'm not going to get into it super duper duper down a rabbit hole here, but it is incredibly important because disasters happen. Y'all, we live in Oklahoma. You know, tornadoes happen, hail happens. You know, we get sick. We have, you know, a flood in our apartment and all of our stuff gets ruined. We get in a car accident. Something happens and you pass away unexpectedly. Having life insurance to make sure that you have money to pay to, you know, take care of your after, you know, your end of life expenses so your family doesn't have to. Making sure you have enough money in life insurance so if you do have debt, that your family isn't having to deal with that burden after you're gone. So it's very important to consider these different products and to have them to protect yourself and your family. You know, I got in a car accident a few years back, and I was so grateful for having auto insurance because even though it really wasn't my fault, someone slammed on their brakes in front of me and my brakes locked up, I couldn't stop. It's still, because of the way the accident happened, it was still deemed to be my fault because I hit the person. And I was so grateful for insurance because between the damage between their car and mine and medical bills, because, you know, my friend like hit the seatbelt really hard and hurt himself. Between all of that, it came to about 20 grand in expenses that I would have had to pay out of my own pocket had I not had insurance. So it is worth it to make sure that you have that. Same thing with health insurance. I had to have surgery a couple of years ago, very unexpected. And thankfully, with my insurance, they paid for most of it. I only had to pay a couple $1,000s for the hospital. The surgery itself, when you look at the bill, cost $80,000. And I only had to pay a couple thousand of that. My insurance took care of everything else. So it's very, very important to make sure you have these things to protect yourself financially. If you have debt, whether that's student loan debt or credit card debt, make sure you pay it off, because while it can be used, you know, credit can be used for good things to help you access stuff like cars and houses that you may not be able to pay for in cash. It can become a burden if you do not take care of it. So make sure that you are finding a method that works for you. You can use the debt snowball as made famous by Dave Ramsey, which is paying the minimum payments on everything, and then finding as much money as you can extra to throw towards the smallest debt and then to your largest debt until you've paid all your debts off, or the debt avalanche, which is very similar, except for you go with the debt that has the highest interest rate first. So make sure that you get those debts paid off. And then make sure you are investing. We've talked about saving. Make sure you're taking some of that money and investing. There are financial advisors out there. There are apps that you can educate yourself about investing so you can learn how to do it yourself. You can set yourself goals. You can select the different things you want to do. You can open yourself your own brokerage account where you can choose what funds that you want to invest in. And if you're not sure, there's tons of certified professionals out there who will have your best interest in heart that you can look at. And lastly, make sure that you are being mindful of work-life balance. Here's the thing, you guys. When you are working all of the time, sometimes it is very easy, especially in the beginning of your career where you are trying to make a name for yourself and you're trying to make sure that you're, doing all the things that your boss is wanting you to do so you can get that promotion. It is very easy to let work slip into your personal time. And it is important for your health. It is important for your mental health, your physical health, for you to still have personal time. So it's important that you make that a priority, that you're making time to connect with your friends and your loved ones. You're not isolating yourself. It's important to find a mentor or more than one who can guide you in your career. I have had some wonderful ones who will give me constructive feedback, right? Constructive feedback is not bad. Even if what they say seems negative, it is because they see something that is holding you back from doing better in your career. So it's important to have that. Make sure that you're establishing and maintaining a health routine. If that means going to the gym, or if that means, heck, scheduling time to take your dog for a walk so you're getting a little bit of exercise every day, right? And most importantly, make sure you're giving yourself grace. This period of your life can seem very scary and very like you don't know what you're doing. Trust me, none of us knew what we were doing at that period of our life. I mean, I'm sure some of us probably still don't. So give yourself some grace because you are learning, and as long as you are doing better yesterday, or I mean tomorrow, than you were yesterday, then you're doing great. So just keep going and keep growing, keep learning. Make sure that you're being open to change. Don't get so set in your ways that you're not open to feedback or change, because change is going to happen through this process. You as a human are going to evolve. Your job may evolve. Your priorities in life may evolve. And don't hide from your mistakes. I know it really sucks when we make a mistake, but the thing is, we all make them. And we are always better from learning from them. So make sure that if you make a mistake, whether that be with your budget, right? You didn't budget for something, or maybe you waited a couple of years to invest and you're like, oh man, I wish I would have started doing that then. Okay, well, start now. Do better now if you've made a mistake. Make sure you're making connections and not burning bridges as much as possible in your professional life, because who you know is as important as what you know in looking for a career. I can honestly say there has been no job in my professional life in the last 20 years that I have been out of undergraduate that I have not had a connection help me with some aspect of getting the job, whether that be giving me a recommendation or passing on my resume to someone or something of that nature. So it's really important to make sure that you make and maintain those positive connections with people that you've worked with. And make sure to be patient. You are not going to be, the CEO of a company tomorrow unless you start that company. And even if you start that company, that's still a process. So make sure that you're giving yourself some grace and being patient. All right, we are almost done. Here are some great tools to help with some of the things that we've talked about, educating yourself more. OKMM, we have a lot of resources on our website, our Your Money Matters guide, some learning modules, podcasts, Of course, we have these webinars, which just because you are a student or a graduate does not mean you cannot still attend these. They are free every month on a different financial topic. Come back next month. We are talking about understanding student loan repayment. So if you are getting ready to graduate and you want to know what to expect your student loan repayment, make sure to get with me next month, register so you can attend that. Here's a lot of other good resources. I will send all of this out within about a week with the recording to everyone who attended. So if there's any of these links that you would like, don't worry, I will be sending this to you so you can look at them. So that being said, what questions do you guys have? It looks like we don't have a whole lot. If you do, feel free to still put them in the chat. We are at 1, so if you have to jump off, please go ahead and do that. I will hang back for a couple of minutes in case we have anybody with questions, so I can answer those for you.